and welcome to Love Talk. Today we're going to be talking about why people become abusive in relationships. There must be a reason, right? There must be something behind that, and we're going to be talking about this today.
Yes, I was even reading some statistics, which I'm going to just mention too now, very quickly. One incident is reported to the police every minute. Mm-hmm. And look at this one, 54% of the UK rapes are committed by a woman's current or former partner.
So that tells you a lot about abuse in a relationship. In fact, today we have someone here sitting in the couch in the studio with us that has gone through this experience firsthand, and she'll be telling us a story. Welcome back. Now, when we talk about abuse, you're talking about two sides of the story. You're talking about the side of the person who's been abused and the person who's the abuser, right? And we have someone here in the studio with us today, Ashkhen, who's experienced that firsthand. How are you, Ashkhen?
Yeah, I'm
Thanks
fine,
for coming,
you.
by the way. Thank you.
Ashkhen, tell me something. You went through a lot of abuse, right? And we're not going to talk about that specifically, but about that in relationships. How long did the abuse last for in your relationships altogether?
I had about 2 or 3 relationships that were completely abusive. So from beginning to end, they were abusive. So maybe from the age of, say, 17 until the age of about 21, maybe, in 4 years, yeah.
Now, when we're talking about abuse in those relationships, do you mean just verbal, or was it physical abuse as well?
It's definitely physical and verbal. It starts off with verbal and then it progresses to physical, but it was definitely physical. In my first relationship, I was 6 months pregnant and I was beaten up so badly that I was covered in bruises, my stomach, everything. And I went to see a social worker and they removed me from the man. You know, they said, you know, you're in danger. And I was sent to a women's refuge. And then, you know, I was feeling lonely, so I rang home and my mum came, and when she saw me, she said, you can't stay here. I remember very clearly, she said, you know, you've made your bed, now lie in it, go back home to him because you're having his child. So obviously I went back because I was a child, I didn't know much better, I was 17, 18. So after that, I think he felt that he was justified what he was doing because nobody stopped him, so it just got worse.
So the beating carried on?
It carried on. After I had my second child, I remember an incident where he was about 3 weeks old and I was on the high street and he hit me so hard I fell to the ground, and people walking past, and he just told them, mind your own business, this is a domestic matter. And everybody, in those days, people didn't really interfere. Everybody walked past. I was just on the floor with a newborn baby, you know, it was really bad.
What we want to understand, I mean, we know this goes on, right? Abuse goes on. What we want to understand is this, because you're in a relationship with someone who's supposed to love you, because this program is about relationships. Why, I mean, did you think that this person loved you even though he hit you?
Yeah, because I didn't understand what love was. So, I mean, basically every time he hit me, the next day he'd go and he'd buy me a gift, like he'd buy me a dress or he'd buy me something, and then I think, oh, he loves me because he bought me a dress. I didn't actually think, oh, he beat me up, he shouldn't have done. Because for me, that was a normal part of life. I didn't realise that that shouldn't be happening in a relationship. So because I didn't realise him, because he bought me a gift and then he told me I love you, so I just believed it. So like a child, you know, if you hit a child, the next day you kiss the child forgets. It was like that, you forget, you move on, you just think it's a normal part of life. You don't hold on to it saying this is wrong because you don't understand it's wrong.
But tell me something, pardon me. What attracted you to that person? How was he before you actually got together?
I think at the time, because I was living in a...
Did you see any signs?
No. I was living in a hostel. I was actually living in a men's hostel because there was no room in the women's hostel when I left home at 17. So I was very, very lonely. So I was looking for someone to cling to in a way. And he was 5 years older, so he was much more mature. So if I was 17, he was about 21, 22. So I didn't see any signs at the time, but I mean, our relationship started so fast that by the time I was pregnant, I was only into a relationship maybe 6 months, 9 months. So there wasn't time to really look and see, is this person, you know, decent? Plus the fact that, you know, I'd seen my father hit my mother. So to me, everything was normal.
Okay.
So I mean, you were saying before we started something interesting, that because you saw the abuse starting in your home when you were young, when you started suffering abuse yourself, you thought it was normal.
I thought it was normal because my father, he'd hit my mother and he'd also hit me and told me that I was bad. So when the man hit me and told me I was bad, I just assumed it was normal because I've been hearing that since I was a child. So obviously, you know, it must be me, not them. Yeah, it must be me.
You thought you were the problem?
Yeah, I definitely thought I was a problem.
You know, James, according to the Home Office, per week, 2 women are killed by domestic violence, abuse. Imagine 2 women per week.
And like you said earlier, I think 1 woman every minute reports domestic abuse, right?
Yes.
Now, it's
really, really bad, isn't it?
It's something that...
I was almost killed twice. I remember very, very clearly the first time he put his hands around my neck and he squeezed it so hard that I stopped breathing, and then I gave up. You know, when you know you're going to die.
You pass out.
Yeah, I just gave up and he let go. And the second time he smothered me with a pillow and I fought until I couldn't fight anymore, and then I gave up and then he let go. So twice I nearly died.
Did you ever report him?
No.
Before you actually went to...
No, didn't occur to me.
Or did you...
It didn't occur to me.
Or did you, for example, after that happened to you, did you think this guy doesn't love me, he wants to kill me, let me leave this relationship, or you continued there?
I think by that time I didn't want to be with him anymore. I just didn't want to be with him, but I never thought to report him or anything because all my friends were in this, you know, similar abusive relationships, so we all thought it was normal. I mean, it didn't occur to me to ring the police.
And I just want to make a point here that when you talk about abuse, you're not just talking about physical abuse. We don't want to turn this program or this show into a talk show about abuse, because we're talking about relationships. The point here is that if you are in a relationship where you're being physically abused and mentally abused, it's impossible to intelligently say that that person loves you, because when you love someone, you don't hurt the person. You have children, right, Ashkhen?
Yeah, I think, James, what happens is the person, first of all, they mentally abuse you, so they make you feel so worthless that when they hit you, you don't think twice about it because they've already made you feel so invaluable. But it always starts off with mental abuse. It doesn't normally start off with physical abuse. But because you hear the mental abuse day in, day out, that you're worthless, when they hit you, you just don't. It doesn't register.
I've actually heard people say that people were abused, that they thought they deserved it. They deserved
that's what
the
you
beatings,
think.
isn't it?
That's what you think. You think, well, if I'm so bad, if I'm so naughty, because if your parents did it as well, then you just grow up thinking you really are this, you know, bad, horrible, nasty person. So.
But the point I wanted to make is that, you know, before it gets to that point, before it gets to the point where it becomes physical, and some relationships never gets, the abuse never gets physical. It's always verbal, mental abuse. Then there's a very simple point we need to make, which is you don't hurt someone that you love. I asked you if you had children because when you love your kids, you don't want to hurt them. You want to protect them. You want to make sure that they're fine, right? And a relationship should be the same. Of course, at that time, maybe you didn't have this understanding. You do now, right? You're going to tell us a little later how you overcame this. But what was the lowest point there in the you've had 2 or 3 abusive relationships, but what was the lowest point in the relationship?
I think one of the worst moments I remember, there was one guy and he hit me so hard he broke my nose and there was blood everywhere. And the reason he hit me was because I had an electric meter and he'd emptied the meter. So when the gas man came, or the electricity man, they found no money in there. So I asked him, where's the money gone? And he hit me so hard after that question. I think I felt very low that day because A, he'd stolen all the money. B, he didn't, you know, I asked a simple question and I got my nose broken, blood everywhere. I think at that point, I remember feeling very, very bad then, very bad.
You're going to tell us afterwards how you overcame this. Right? Because this is important, because if you are currently in a relationship that is abusive, then you need to find a way of knowing your value, knowing that you're important, and knowing that you don't deserve what you're going through. And secondly, if you've been through that, now you need to find a way to overcome it. Right, Lena? No woman, no man, because there are women who abuse men as well.
There are many.
No one deserves to go through that.
No, and I know that of course, on the second part of the show, we're going to have more advice, more practical advice. But this is the truth. when you love someone, you don't touch the person like this. You don't hit the person. You don't abuse the person. And you see how interesting. Most people that we've spoken to, even when we advise couples and single people, it's that when they were abused, they thought they deserved it.
Yeah.
That is really stuck in my mind.
And
how can you think that you deserve to be? I mean, they don't believe that there is better out there.
Yeah. But then sometimes you say, look, James, but sometimes my partner gets me so angry that I want to do something. Well, you go to the garden and let off some steam, go in and play some tennis or something, but not with the person that's with you.
And you know, maybe you want to do something, you are angry, but it never comes to your mind to beat.
Of course.
If you have this kind of instinct, there's another problem right there.
There's a line that you never cross.
Exactly,
right?
never. And there's the person who feels that way, the person has serious issues.
We're going to go now into see what's happening in the celebrity world. We're going to go to the celebrity gossip, and we'll be right back.
There is always something new happening in the love lives of these celebrities. Nicole Scherzinger and Lewis Hamilton are to hold talks to discuss how to get their relationship back on track amid their hectic work schedules. The couple called time on their 5-year relationship last month, but are planning to meet in a bid to find a way to make the union work when they are so busy with their global trotting careers. A source said, they both know this is the final chance to make it work. Nicole is currently based in the UK working on the X Factor and has found the last month away from Formula One ace incredibly difficult, so is keen to find a way to get the relationship back on track. In other news, rumour has it that Australian supermodel Elle Macpherson got married to her billionaire fiancé Jeffrey Soffer in Fiji. The intimate event apparently happened on the Pacific Islands in front of family and friends. Elle and Jeffrey announced their engagement in March, and their recent nuptials were confirmed by a close source of the pairs to the US Weekly magazine. The 49-year-old supermodel and mum of 2 got engaged after reconciling with the 44-year-old billionaire in November last year. The couple originally started dating in 2009, split in March 2012 and got back together after 8 months apart. So maybe it is true what they say about absence making the heart grow fonder. So that's it for Celebrity Gossip. See you next week.
Welcome back. Now we've heard how Ashkhen struggled in her relationships with abuse, but now you're going to tell us how you overcame this, right, Ashkhen? What did you do when you ended these abusive relationships? What did you do to overcome the trauma, the hurt that this caused you?
I think the main thing was that I needed to understand that I didn't deserve any of this and that none of this was my fault, and that obviously the person themselves had anger issues and they didn't know how to deal with anger, because you know everybody will say something wrong at some time. None of us are perfect. You're going to say something to wind someone up, but that doesn't mean that you should be punched or beaten. You know, that person should be able to let off steam naturally, not on you. And also I think the key thing in all of this was that I had to learn to like myself, to really believe that I was lovable, because I think my main problem was I didn't believe I was lovable, and because I didn't believe I was lovable, I accepted everything that was thrown at me.
Now just a question, because you attracted 2 or 3 men that were all abusive. Do you think that when people don't know their value or don't think they're worth much, do you think they attract those kind of people who take advantage of them?
Yeah, because they allow it. They very much allow it. Because, for example, if I knew my value and then I meet a man and if I see something abusive about him, I'll just tell him where to go. But a woman who doesn't value themselves, they'll carry on, they'll think it's normal.
And these men prey on women like this,
yes,
right?
Of course.
That's what I was going to say. We had a guest on the show a while ago. She was also a victim of abuse in the past, and she said, from what, you know, the help that she got from the specialists and everything, look, they actually, if they see, like you said, that you are very much like, you know, you don't understand things that well, you just allow, you know, anyone to mistreat you or anything, they just think, oh, this one is an easy one, she's like, you know, I'm going to do whatever I want to do.
Because I imagine, Ashkhen, that men usually who abuse women, they test the water, right? They say one thing, if the woman doesn't defend herself, doesn't try to stand her ground, then he'll go a little further. Is that how it works?
I believe so, because the reason I say this is because after me, the next relationship that he went into, he doesn't abuse her at all. In fact, I think she started hitting him. It was the other way around. So she
started abusing him?
Yeah, she started abusing him. So I think it's not necessarily the person, it's how far you allow them to go.
Yeah.
Very true.
And you said that part of you overcoming this was you understanding your value.
Understanding my value and really liking myself, believing that I'm a likable person, that I'm not this bad person who deserves to be beaten and you know, treated badly.
Right. So that's the key, Lena.
You know, I was reading, as I said in the beginning, a few statistics. Many people do go back, unfortunately, after receiving all the help. And I've seen cases like this. They do go back to their abusive partners, but few. I'm not sure about numbers exactly. They do have. They do change their life. They are able to change their lives around with all the support that there is out there.
And the important thing, of course, is you need to understand the following. Like Ashkhen said, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself, and she's been through that, so she knows this. You need to understand how valuable you are. Do you understand? And like you said, Ashkhen, even if the person does something wrong, that doesn't justify abuse. No matter how wrong the mistake is, if there's something wrong, and you say, look, I'm a person that I get angry easily, and I need to let off some steam. Fine. You let off some steam in a way that doesn't hurt anybody, right?
And even the fact that you feel so angry, okay? For example, we do have disagreements sometimes, but we don't go like, oh, I'm so angry if I don't go out of the door, if I don't leave the house now, I'm gonna beat him up or he's gonna beat me up. If people reach that stage, there is already a problem. You know, you're not supposed to feel that way. People get angry, it's a natural feeling, but not to the point, oh, I need to leave, otherwise I'm gonna beat this person. There's something deeper than just anger, if you understand.
Ashkhen, what is your advice if someone is in a relationship right now? What is your advice if the person notices they're beginning a relationship and they notice some traits of violence or abuse in the relationship? What is your advice for the person?
I mean, it's not going to get any better, because normally what happens is the person will say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I'll never do it again. And that's a big lie. They will always do it again. You need to get out. When you realize that there's a problem, if you stay, it's your own fault because you're putting yourself in it. You need to come out of the relationship. You need to be wise and say to yourself, I'm not going to live with this. Because a lot of women, they're so obsessed, oh, I found someone who wants me, that they don't want to let go. They'd rather be with someone abusive than be on their own. But at the end of the day, it's not worth it, because you're not going to remain in that abusive relationship. You're either going to be dead or you're going to have to leave because things are so bad. So it's better you come out of it before everything starts.
Can I just say something quickly? You said something very interesting, come out of that situation. But I also know from listening to some specialists that you can't just live like this. It can also be dangerous. Depending on the situation, it's important that you seek help before you actually plan to leave, because depending on the situation, you would agree with me, you can't leave straight away, because you need to seek advice. And we are going to have we have a number on our screen where you can also call for advice before you do anything. That's very important to mention.
But I think you've got to set your mind on, I'm not going to stay in this relationship.
Don't accept the situation,
because if you accept it, it's just going to carry on.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
And the important thing is this, like Ashkhen was saying, you have to know your value. The fact that someone treaded on you or made you suffer or think little of you never changes your value. It's like a diamond, right? If you take a diamond and you put a diamond in the mud, it's still a diamond, right? It hasn't stopped being a diamond. If you take that diamond and you cut it in two, it's still a diamond. So it's like you, right? You went through all that, but you never stopped being Ashkhen. You were still Ashkhen. You just need, like a diamond needs to be cleaned, you just needed a little cleaning, a little polishing, right? And how are you today, Ashkhen? You've overcome all that?
Yeah, I'm fine. It doesn't affect me. I can talk about it. It doesn't affect me one bit.
You look quite confident to me.
Yeah, it's really, it's like my past. It's something that it doesn't have any effect on my future whatsoever.
Actually, I was asking Ashkhen in the beginning, before we started, look, are you okay to talk about this? She said, yeah, it's fine, because I've overcome this. And when you overcome something like this, really, completely, then it's like a distant future, right?
Yeah, it's like something that maybe happened to someone else, but you just remember the details.
Yeah, the memory will always be there, but you can be a different person. Now, I have to say that on a different note, that sometimes Elena and I, we get a little competitive, right? Things get a little heated up. We are a little bit competitive in some things, not everything, but some
You are
things.
more than I am.
Sometimes we don't say it, but we are. Now, a few days ago, we went to a very, very nice day out at Playgolf, and we had
Beautiful place.
Beautiful. Actually, if you do go there, do spend like a day or half a day there, because there's a lot to do. And we had a little bit of a competition in the mini golf and the baseball. She beat me.
Softball one was my,
Yeah,
you know.
she beat me at the baseball. I beat her in the mini golf. So it was a draw. But we're gonna let you watch that yourself. Hi everyone, we're here at Play Golf in Northwick Park, and if you have hopefully a whole day off, this would be a great place for you to come.
It would be ideal, yes.
Ideal. There's a lot to do here. There's mini golf, there's a driving range, softball and baseball. There's even a restaurant, a nice restaurant, so you can have something to eat during the day. And if you're stressed out about something in your relationship, then you can sort things out in the driving range, right?
Let's see.
So let's go have some fun. If you're a woman and you're angry because you left the towel on the floor, this is what you can do to release your stress. A little bit stronger than that.
And this is my favorite bit, mini golf. Okay. And we are going to play a round of mini golf and see how it goes.
Let's get the competitive juices going.
Let's see what happens. James, have you noticed what's written at the back? Very fast. Are you ready?
Well, let's see. We have to try to see what's going to happen. I have my helmet.
So you go first, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, I always go first because in case someone gets injured, it's always me, right?
That's
But
right.
ready, so let's go. Actually,
Yes. Woo! Let's go.
Good. But none of the balls have gone forward. So after quite some time here enjoying ourselves, we played mini golf, which I won. We played baseball, which
I won.
and after some very nice lunch, this is a place where you can come to relax. You can see here the grounds. It's a beautiful day today, so maybe this is something you can do as well. If you want, you can come here to play golf in Northwick Park, and hope that you enjoy it as much as we did. See you in the studio. I want to invite you to take advantage of the weather. If the weather, well, lately the weather has been good, for you to spend some time there at Play Golf, because it really is a lot of fun. I want to thank Ashkhen for being here with us. She always corrects me that her name is Ashkhen, not Ashkhen. And so thank you.
Thanks for sharing us.
Elena, what is the advice for women? What should women do if they find themselves in the beginning of an abusive relationship or in an abusive relationship?
Well, my advice is read the signs. You know, I always say that to you, right? About dating and everything. Read the signs. If you can't read the signs and you find yourself in a relationship like this, understand that you deserve better. There's no such thing as a happy relationship where you are being beaten up and abused. No, you are not in a loving relationship. So understand that you deserve better, okay?
Yeah, and the other thing is, remember the example we gave earlier. No matter what someone tells you, no matter what someone says to you, your value is not diminished. You are still the same. Someone may not like who you are, may say that you are no good, but you know who you are, right? You know your value, and that should always be remembered. So whether someone puts you down or not, then remember who you are, remember your value, and you still have time to start again. Whether you want to start again or not is up to you, it's your decision, but you shouldn't allow yourself to struggle in the way that you're struggling. And just a last word for the abusers, whether you're a man or a woman. You know, the person who abuses is not the strong one. The person who abuses is actually the weak one, because he's not strong enough to be a role model, to be someone who makes the other person safe, whether he or she. So if you're being abused, remember that your abuser is not strong. Actually, he's very weak. He's so weak that he shouldn't deserve to be with you. Join us in the second part of this program next week, where we'll be speaking more about this. Until then, have a wonderful night.